I'm Dawson Schmidt here with the latest stories and developments in this week's Commodity Roundup on Trader PhD. Argentina's wheat production is expected to drop in the upcoming season after hitting a record last year. The Buenos Aires Grain Exchange released its preseason report on Wednesday. Tighter margins this year are expected to lead to a 3% decline in wheat plantings to 16.1 million acres. While acres weren't the highest ever recorded, plentiful rains last year led to a strong yield and record production estimate. Argentinian farmers will begin planting wheat in late May and finish in July. Large supplies out of Argentina and other major wheat exporting countries pressured global wheat prices last year. Australia, also another major producer, is expected to face lower plantings and more challenging weather conditions this upcoming season. Has the U.S. cattle herd moved into the expansion phase? Signals are still a little mixed. The USDA released its latest cattle on feed report last Friday. The report showed continued cattle supply tightness that has been the theme for the industry for much of the past few years. March feedlot placements totaled 1.71 million head, down 7.3% from a year ago. That was also the lowest placement number for March since 2020, when COVID impacted cattle movements. The USDA reported that the April 1 feedlot inventory totaled 11.6 million head, down 0.5% year over year. But the more interesting number was the heifers out inside of feedlots. Quarterly data showed that the number of heifers on feed totaled 4.32 million head. That was down about 2.6% from the previous quarter, but virtually unchanged from a year ago. The percentage of heifers in the feedlot herd fell to 37.3% during the quarter, the lowest percentage since April of 2020. Still, there hasn't been much of a shift in the perception of heifer retention, as the number of females in the feedlot herd remains historically high. One barrier to herd expansion has been lingering drought in the plains. Soil moisture deficits have been prominent in parts of the U.S., where 63% of U.S. cattle areas were under drought conditions as of this past week, compared to only 38% last year. Access to forage this year will be critical for herd expansion to gain momentum, a factor the market will be looking for further market direction. U.S. soybean meal exports have benefited from record crushings this season as the U.S. remains fairly competitive on the global market. The U.S. is expected to produce a record amount of soybean meal in the 2025 and 26 season, but that doesn't mean that we're necessarily swimming in meal domestically. Instead, meal exports have maintained a record. USDA data showed that soybean meal exports and commitments are running about 17% ahead of last season. Exports are also on pace to meet the USDA's target for the marketing year, which is expected to be about 6% higher than the previous season. Much of that growth has been due to stronger shipments to the Philippines, Mexico, and Colombia. Record domestic crushings have allowed the U.S. to increase its competitiveness on the global stage. Thanks for watching. I'm Dawson Schmidt, and this has been Trader PhD.